Welcome to the Covering Tracks video of the Cyber Attack Methodology. In this lesson, we're going to summarize common techniques for covering your tracks. Again, the phases of the attack: reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access. We've covered each of these up to this point. Now that we're in, we've exploited our target, we've escalated our privileges and added backup access points. Now we're into how do we cover our tracks. Our good power company, our network infrastructure. We talked about maintaining access and privilege escalation on these two particular systems because they happen to be pretty easy to get to. Now, how do we cover our tracks? The objective here is to remove any sign that we were there. So you have to go take a look at your log files for the operating system that shows that you might have been in, or things of that nature. You have to remove infiltration signs, which means anything that you've done that might have been recorded in some way, shape, or form you want to get rid of. And then leaving doors open, you want to make sure that they're discrete doors. So on this particular slide, we're talking about admin rights on this particular computer. It's probably not something that they're going to find very easily. It's like a needle in the haystack type of thing. You have a lot of systems on your network, and you want to make sure that you have multiple points of entry and that you can understand and find where those are. So again, throughout this entire process, you're taking notes, you're recording, which IP addresses you have access to, what are the ways to get into the system, do I have a backdoor from Metasploit on that system, did I put in a new username with admin rights on that system. You have all that written down so you can go back and through that process. So the objective here, you're just getting rid of any sign that you were in. You erased your log files. You want to do that very carefully because sometimes missing points of time in a log file is a good indication that somebody was clearing their tracks. So keep that in mind. You want to do it nicely. So let's take a look from say the other perspective. So knowing how access can be gained through a vulnerability, what steps can we take to better secure our computers and networks? This is the offense-defense paradigm. You become a better offensive person the better you know your defense, and you become a better defensive person the more you know your offense. So understanding how your systems can be infiltrated and accessed, that should give you some insight on what steps that you need to take to secure your computers and networks. So obviously one of the steps might be make sure that all your updates are on your system, right? And sometimes it's a little bit harder than you might think because it might create a problem with certain software that's running on your system. So again, that's a whole different topic. But make sure you do your updates, make sure that you patch your vulnerabilities, make sure that you do logging and that you review those logs. So logging isn't going to help you unless you review it. So make sure you review your logs, make sure that you have a good system set up in place, and make sure you're using the highest encryption that you can. So WEP on a wireless router is probably not a good thing. Use the better one, WPA2. Make sure everything is where it needs to be. So in summary of the steps, we talked about reconnaissance, we talked about scanning, attacking, gaining access, maintaining access, and as we talked about in covering tracks, you want to clear your log files, and sometimes you do make registry entries as you're doing things, so you want to make sure you clean those up as well. Again, from a defensive perspective, take a look at your log files and take a look at your registry entries to make sure that someone hasn't messed with them. If someone has, you can probably assume that you've been attacked or you are currently being attacked, and now it's time to go and clean up your system. If you have any questions, please talk to your professor.